es la voz de LA. It's la cuna galaxiana, come and kick it with us. I bring the bossa nova beats and talk the club that we love. Another year to adjust, and Will Kuntz we all trust. 6 titles in the cabin, tell a hater shut up. Mirar al horizonte con el cielo morado. Llegamos al estadio como siempre lo hago. Es la nueva temporada, ya cumplí 30 años. Rezándole a San Pequi que no dé al travesaño. Que repartan los balones y no sean tacaños. Que regrese el contraataque y que le hagamos daño. Un saludo para Robert, hermanos ecuatorianos. Que la táctica de Ananda nunca sean en vano. Si se trata de mi gala me levanto temprano. Ver el fur en verano, en el pasto tumbado. Siempre estoy a tu lado, en cualquier resultado. Vamos Galaxy, on top is where I gotta be. Chilling in the canopy, staging like a winery. Goals during rivalries, brew from the refinery. Only want the finer things, we letting you know. Lo que pasa en la galaxia, ready, let's start the show.
Hello, hola, and buenas, and welcome back to another episode of La Cuna Galaxiana, a podcast always made with love for all you LA Galaxy fans out there, wherever you may be out in the world, and for all you MLS fans as well. You have a home here too. Today, the Galaxy is back from break, and they'll be hoping that it's a clean slate as they begin to take on the second half of the season by traveling to Colorado to visit the Rapids for another midweek match on Wednesday, June 25th. In the first time the two teams have met since the playoffs last season, we'll take a look at why this is the best time for the Galaxy to visit the Rapids, the weaknesses LA can exploit from their hosts to get the win, and why the next two matches might be the most crucial to the second half of the Galaxy season. We'll also bring you Gold Cup and Club World Cup updates as Inter Miami makes history, plus the Prince who was promised inches ever closer to his return. All that and more coming up on tonight's episode. But let me introduce myself. I'm Rob Halon, one of your co-hosts. You can find me online, just like the tag says, at El Escudero de LA. You can find my work at the Sporting Tribune and Extra Time Talk. And since I'm here, you know what it is. He's always here with me, El Yerno Guapo, El Gitano Perdido, y el papá de Natita más importante que nada, Anandita Kirana. Papá, you were just saying backstage, it feels like forever since we've done this. Of course, we took Thursday off. I mean, it's good to be back in the saddle, right?
It's good to be back in the hot seat, good to be back in the chair. It feels a little weird. I'm like, where are all my buttons? Like, I got to figure out, like, all these buttons that I got to press again to start up the stream. But yeah, man, it's good to be back. Now, I would say that I've been like, there's been no LA Galaxy soccer, so we've been kind of devoid of soccer, but that's not true, man. There's a lot of interesting stuff going on out there in the world of football.
So much soccer right now.
There's awesome. There's a lot of actually really good soccer. And whether you, I mean, for me in particular, like this is probably the most I've paid attention in the Club World Cup. Maybe because it's here in this country, right? We have a couple of games even in our backyard at the Rose Bowl. And we'll get into all of those matches, but I think the ominous sort of, or I guess, imminence of the World Cup coming next year, man. I think starting to feel that fever. Like I said, I haven't watched the Club World Cup as intensely as I have this time, and it's been really interesting to watch. So hopefully, I think some of you maybe like me are sort of converted into the fact that, hey, maybe this Club World Cup thing, maybe it is a good tournament, you know, for the betterment of the sport, right? For the betterment of competition and stacking up, you know, who is the best in the world? Like, how do Brazilian teams fare against the best of the elite of Europe? I mean, those are good. I think these are good measuring sticks now. These platforms provide good measuring yardsticks for us to kind of, you know, look at all that stuff and assess all that, right? So super fun.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's been fantastic to see the surprises, the teams that, you know, are not supposed to, you know, beat, for example, a European champion and stuff like that happening. So yeah, the tournament's been fun. It's been met overwhelmingly with, you know, with plaudits. I mean, at least in terms of the competition. I mean, last time we were on, I mean, I criticized at least the operational side pretty heavy for, just the ineptitude, I guess, in getting people where they needed to be and stuff like that for that first match. But hopefully they figured it out. To be honest, I haven't been to any Club World Cup matches. I haven't covered any since that first match. So I want to believe that they've figured it out. I know that a lot of my colleagues have still covered matches and they haven't mentioned anything. So here's hoping, right? But yeah, I mean, yes, there has been no Galaxy soccer, but like you mentioned, there's been a ton of really good soccer, both in the Club World Cup, and then also you have international competition going on here right in our backyard as well with the Gold Cup. A couple matches were here in Los Angeles. So it's always good that even though the Galaxy aren't playing, there's good soccer happening, and we'll always bring you new news on that as well. And we just want to say hello to everyone in chat. Thank you so much for being here with us. Thanks to y'all. We are on the march to 700 subs. Help us get there by the start of the Leagues Cup. And, hopefully we can go ahead and do one of those good giveaways again. Super chats are available if you want to go ahead and get something off your chest. If you have something to say, if you have a question for us, go ahead and pop in the super chats. And then right now, as I speak, if you are watching the show on YouTube, good on you. That means you probably subscribed. If you're watching the show on X or Instagram, as some people like to do, we would appreciate you jumping over to YouTube and hitting that sub. And then maybe, if you want, jumping back to X or Instagram. But yeah, definitely go ahead and hit that subscribe button, because Ananda, he loves to remind me that one of y'all don't hit that sub button, but you watch the show. So what is preventing you from taking that extra step? I will personally guarantee Ananda will come up and give you a hug if you get that sub.
Go ahead. Because why? Because
I was gonna say, I have the decision making power over Ananda's hugs for all Lacuna fans.
I love that. Glad you finished that. And by the way, too, in YouTube, we're gonna start doing some community posting. There is like a posting board, a community board. So again, if you do sub, you're gonna be caught up to speed on everything that's going on. We're starting to push out some clips now, some shorts. So we do know that. I mean, sometimes these things go an hour and a half, and sometimes you just want to consume us in a fun size. What did I say last time, Rob? Fun size.
Bite size,
like Costco samples. You just want a little sample of what's going on in Lacuna Galaxiana, and the latest one that we did a callback to our 200 show that we did with Mr. Josh Guessman. Super fun show, and the latest clip is out there. We did a little fun game called Who Said It, Taylor Swift or Greg Vanny? And again, if you want to see how Josh did, go ahead and check in. Tune into that. Don't spoil too much, Papa. Let him watch the vid. Let him watch the vid. We also had a little game called Galaxy Tinder on there as well. And shameless self-promotion, Rob. Alex and I, we had also a couple clips out there from Los GATACTICOS episode 6. Trying to harken back a little bit to some Star Wars lingo here. A New Hope. Of course, these two guys are a big part of that. And again, this is, we take a look at this in terms of what the Galaxy need to do at the second half of the season. But really, man, it's beyond that too. It's 2026 and beyond. We pull out the tactics boards, we pull out the video, and it was nice to see that at least these last couple of games, some of the things that we talked about in terms of Lucas Sanabria's partnership with Edwin Cerrillo, Nacimiento as the focal point now as the number 9, sort of taking on that mantle, right, for a muchly missed Dejan Joveljic this year. All that and more on that latest episode, man. So guys, go ahead and check that out for sure. And I guess, Papa, before we go, just before I forget, antes de olvidarme, ¿no? Como siempre, buenos días, tardes o noches, y bienvenidos a otro capítulo de Lacuna Galaxiana. As Josh said, the first 200 shows are usually crappy, and then it gets better from there. So here's to 200 more, and hopefully there's better shows to come.
Well, we will endeavor, chat, to make them better now, because now to put the pressure on us. So anyway, I'm just trying to still not to get canceled and to have some fun talking about some Galaxy soccer. But yeah, we would like to make these pods as informative, as good as you'll allow us to make them. So go ahead and pop in. Let us know, what you're liking about the show. Drop us some comments. Send us some questions, and we'll make sure to get back to you.
Scott says I need to learn Spanish. That's why this is a bilingual pod, Papa. We try to cater to both because you know what?
Yeah, well, and we'll teach you.
There's some abuelitas and some tios and some tias out there that listen to us that don't speak English, Scott. So it's kind of one of those things, But yeah, we'll get some Spanish lessons going on the pod too. That'll be a nice segment.
First Spanish lesson right now, Scott. Necesitamos ganar. Translation, Ananda.
We need to win.
Yes, Scott, that's necesitamos ganar.
Yeah,
there you go. There's your first Spanish lesson here on La Cuna. Not only bringing you the latest in Galaxy news, but also Spanish lessons.
There we go.
We love to do it, Scott. Thank you for being here once again here with us. But yeah, let's hit up some shout outs and announcements, man.
I was gonna say, bro, like 10 minutes in, we don't waffle here. There's a Spanish lesson. There's important things that need to be done before we start the show, guys. So no waffle here. No waffle.
And El Primo comment says, "Vamos a ganar." Yep. I like the optimism. You're pepping me up because I'm not there yet. Primo, but maybe we'll talk about why I think I could get there. But anyway,
respect, Papa, by the way.
Oh man. That's love. Thank you. We definitely take that to heart, and we definitely try. It's funny because you're like, you guys are the culture, and then I'm gonna start talking about pups at the pitch and maybe get misty-eyed and teary-eyed because everybody knows once we start talking about dogs, anything having to do with dogs, I get all emotional and stuff like that. But anyway, Pups at the Pitch returns to the digs for the third year in a row. Bring your fur baby, your amado, your chiquitín, your baby to the digs. And your Fidu life. Anyway, on July 12th, you'll get your first opportunity to take your little pup to the pitch. That's the game against DC United, if you guys need some reminding. But you'll have 3 other opportunities to do so. August 10th against Seattle, August 30th against FC Dallas, and September 20th against FC Cincinnati. That September 20th game, Ananda, is going to be pretty cool because it's going to feature a special pregame activation at Galaxy Park. They're going to pretty much turn it into a Galaxy dog park for the day. They're going to bring in a bunch of stuff and make it basically like a Galaxy dog park. So anybody that's going out there and taking your dog, it's definitely going to be a fun day to go ahead and do that. There's going to be, doggy centric activities, vendors, and I'm assuming treats and stuff like that. Special giveaways that day as well are going to be available exclusively to the fans who get the Pups at the Pitch ticket for this. So remember, you can go ahead and get this ticket pack if you already have tickets. You're a single match ticket buying kind of person. I don't know what to tell you, but good news for season ticket members is that you can go ahead and go onto your fan account and get a complimentary pass for your pup this year. So this year, nice. You don't have to pay additional for your pup. So I know we're definitely seeing Natita at Pups at the Pitch a couple times this year. Yeah, Natita.
You know what? We might
even see Kobe, man.
I was gonna say I need to give him some noise canceling headphones like the one I have right now because I know he doesn't do well with the fireworks. So maybe get him some headphones. And then we'll see how it goes from there. But we'll figure it out, man. But would love to see both of them, both of the primos out there.
Oh yeah. No, I mean I've already kind of like worked out logistics, like wifey and Kobe chill in the car until the game actually begins and the fireworks start. And after, because he's actually good around other dogs and stuff like that. It's just those fireworks that get him, man, and then that's it. Work him, man. So I mean I think that's the tactic. get him with those noise canceling headphones in the car until the game starts, and then as soon as the game starts, he can go on in and have fun. But yeah, it pumps up the pitch is one of the things that I love that happens every year. So this starts at $35 if you are trying to get that ticket pack. Enough about dogs. I can go all day. Stadium tours are back as well. We've had comments even in chat that there's a hunger for this kind of perk again. This, I guess, used to be a thing, Ananda. I didn't know. I never got involved in this. I never went to one, but I know through people like Luis Vela, shout out Luis Vela Arte, that this used to be a thing, and so they are coming back. Season ticket members are offered an exclusive behind the scenes tour of the digs, and the first one will be on Sunday, June 29th. There is a lottery system happening. I feel kind of sheepish because I wish we had called this out on the last pod. If you're listening to this live, you still have some time to enter. The entrance period is over at 12 tonight. So if you're listening to this, after the fact, I'm sorry, you probably don't get a chance to enter, but they will be revealing who the winner was tomorrow on June 24th, and it was really just based on a lottery system. But this is a really cool thing, man. I mean, I've been in the bowels of the digs, and it's kind of interesting, how everything is laid out.
Yeah. Well, you were there for the sort of the media availability, or however you want to call it, for the new renovations, right? So you got to do a huge sort of loop around sort of the bowels as well, right?
Well, we did most of the renovation up top, but just through press conferences and
right,
being
there,
in the
press box,
being in the press box, or being in the mig zone. Shout out Josh. You sometimes you leave and it's rather late, and they're like, oh, you don't leave this way, leave the other way, and you're walking around for a minute. And so what I said is that it's the digs is all, obviously it's a circular stadium, but it's interesting how everything is super connected. Even the tennis courts and the velodrome off to the side is super connected. So yeah, I definitely would recommend this to anybody. This is a kind of a behind the scenes thing. You'll get to see where Don Raul works. Shout out Don Raul 96. And yeah, these are kind of fun things. Also, the digs is the U.S. men's national team headquarters as well. So there's some Easter egg U.S. men's national team things hanging out around the digs as well. So yeah, check that out. That'll be revealed Tuesday, June 24th. Happy birthday to Harbor Miller. He turned 18 on Saturday. He is, one of these young promises for the Galaxy. He's already made quite a splash, making a lot of nice appearances at the beginning of the season. Hopefully, he was surrounded by his friends and families, and I hope he had a beautiful day and many more to come in that Galaxy shirt. Speaking of Galaxy shirts, shout out to Marco Reus and Ricky Puig for being in the top 20 of the best-selling MLS jerseys. I mean, this is pretty fire because Ricky hasn't even played the season.
Exactly.
And he's still number 20 in this list, man. Marco Reus, of course, number 15, the German star. Not a surprise that his jersey has sold so well. But yeah, I mean, I was very surprised that Ricky was still on the list, even though he hadn't played this year. This is just a testament to the Galaxy star power,
and his popularity too, just him in general as a personality, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's at this kit. First off, this Rising kit, everybody knows I love it, but
yeah,
it emphasizes just the star power that Ricky has. Like I said, he didn't even play this year, and his jersey's still selling. In a city of stars, he is still up there and still a big draw.
Man, I just we'll talk about him a little bit later too. But I just miss his presence, not just within the team, but obviously on social media. He loves that cheese may dog. So and I miss that. I miss all of that, all the things that we were talking about last year, sort of the off the pitch stuff. Getting back at certain MLS pundits, getting back at maybe a couple of beat writers that we know. Just stuff like that. I love the back and forth. So I missed that this year for sure.
Yeah, I definitely miss that chispa too. Ricky, vuelve, come to the podcast. We know you
Soon,
want to
soon.
come.
We'll talk about him a little bit later.
Yes. Zippers, thank you. Rex Specs for K9 hearing protection. I appreciate that. Kobe will appreciate that as well.
He's got by the way, that his pup right there in his profile picture, that's very, very good looking pup, man.
Yeah, person after my own heart, with the doggy in the profile picture. But yeah, I mean, speaking of star power, Ananda, these two are a couple of stars in the constellation that is Los Angeles. I don't think anybody would argue that among the biggest stars in the constellation here in Los Angeles are the Lakers. They're the marquee team here in Los Angeles. I mean, people think Los Angeles, they think the Lakers. And just this week, the news broke that the Buss family was selling a lot of their stake in the team for $10 billion, Ananda. So that's, I don't know about you, but that's a nice chunk of cheddar. I could definitely
wild.
do. Well, I could definitely do with about 10 or 20 mil.
Considering that the Buss family bought it for 60 some odd million, what an ROI, bro! What an ROI! Yeah, what an ROI, bro! Wow, unbelievable. But I mean, the first thing I thought about was just like not only how astronomical of a number of it was, but if you compare it to other franchises and other leagues, like let's look at MLS, for example, right? This is the thing I thought about. I think we talked about this chart a while ago, but man, you compare it to some of these teams, it's 10x some of the top teams in MLS, Rob. LAFC, Inter Miami, and LA Galaxy. I mean, even Real Madrid, a global powerhouse, Man United, one of the biggest, we're talking about the biggest teams in world football. I mean, pretty good valuations. Look, I'm assuming that if the Glazers sell, which is music to your ears, right, Rob? That they could probably command a $10 billion, B with a B, $1 billion valuation. That's not out of the realm possibility. But if you compare it to MLS, like that's an astronomical number. So I don't know, like, does it say more about just how insane of a brand the Lakers brand is, or does it give a little bit more credit to these MLS teams that, hey, at least they're somewhat in the conversation of being a highly valued club, right?
Yeah, they're definitely in the conversation, but that's all it is.
That's about it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, but you also got to realize that, I mean, basketball is a national sport, whereas soccer is still a considered a niche sport in this country, unfortunately. I mean, it's grown significantly since 1994, and basically that World Cup that set the stage for MLS and everything else, but it's just not as popular as basketball. We know
in this country for sure.
Yeah, no, definitely in this country. That's what I mean.
Yeah,
it's not as popular in this country as basketball. Anybody trying to dispute that, I mean, I would love to see your metrics, but yeah, it's nice that there's a couple of different teams on this valuation list that are from MLS, but XPA says Celtics sold for $6.1 billion with the arena. Lakers don't.
That's true. They're leasing.
Staples.
They're leasing from Uncle Phil. Which, speaking of Uncle Phil,
speaking of Uncle Phil, right?
We got this. We got this tweet for some guy that Rob, pretty well.
Yeah, I mean, I like that guy. I don't like the first guy that we just mentioned, though. Everybody knows I'm not the biggest Phil Anschutz fan, and his response to everything going on. But Arash, shout out Arash. We're still expecting you on the show at some point. He says something to watch. In 2013, Philip Anschutz nearly sold AEG, which owns Crypto Arena, LA Live, Dignity Health, the LA Kings, LA Galaxy, to Mark Walter and Guggenheim Partners for $7 billion. Anschutz will turn 86 years old this year. Could he like to sell again? And then he goes on to say, 4 years ago, Mark Walter and Guggenheim Partners bought a 27% stake in the Lakers and the first right to buy the team if it were ever for sale from Philip Anschutz.
Yeah, I mean something to look out for sure. But that'll be interesting one for. I thought that was an interesting tweet by Ross, just kind of tying it to AEG and the Galaxy in particular. So we'll see, man. We'll see.
Well, you know, when there's what is that saying in Spanish? When there's rocks in the river, cuando hay piedras en el río, aguas una. Anyway, I'm gonna have to ask my wife on that one.
Is it like when there's smoke, there's fire? Is it kind of like that sentiment?
Yeah, something like that. You know, if there's something there, if there's something there before, you know, there might be something there in the future. But anyway, we kind of touched on this already on to the FIFA Club World Cup, turning heads for just how engaging it's been so far with the play, the excitement. Yes, there have been a couple of duds. There was one match in Orlando that had like 90 people there or something like that, Ananda. So yeah, there have been moments that have been great, but on the whole, you've had you know, the fan bases come out and show out really hard. Like Urara came out, man, and did it big. I mean, Boca Juniors, they came out, of course, and did it big. River. I saw a story of this River Plate fan dog. Like,
saw that. Or Boca fan. Or wait,
was it a Boca? I thought it was a River fan that sold his car.
Oh, sorry. No, I was thinking of something else.
Nah, I saw this River fan, man. He sold his car to finance the trip. He was trying to get a certain amount. He didn't get it, and so he was like, "F it, like you could take it for what you are stating." He was like, "When I get back, my wife's probably going to divorce me, but it is what it is."
Well, dude, that's what C. Conway was talking to us about last pod, right? Which is there's these fans, whether it's for the Club World Cup or the World Cup. I mean, they're literally, you know, taking whatever they can, debts, liens to make this tournament, right, to be there. And I think that just shows sort of the power of these types of tournaments, especially on a world stage.
Yeah, and I mean, if this is what we see for the Club World Cup, I mean, what will we see for the actual World Cup, right?
Yeah.
But since we didn't see you guys on Thursday, we'll give you a quick round two rundown. Of course, we already kind of mentioned it. Inter Miami beat Porto in an upset, and then the one we mentioned a little while ago was Botafogo beating the European champion PSG 1-0 in a huge upset. Of course, Flamengo followed it up with a 3-1 win over Chelsea.
Cole Palmer, who?
Yeah, no, Cole Palmer, who exactly?
Cole Palmer can't play in hot weather, basically.
Yeah, no. Well, a lot of these European teams are complaining about the hot weather. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, it's no secret there are usually geographic, you know, I guess helpers. I guess you would call them, like advantages, right? Ecuador being one of them. I mean, they play in Quito at altitude sometimes, and that's a huge benefit. So, European teams got to learn how to get with it, man. I mean, because right now they're getting worked by some of these South American teams, and you know, the last team to enter the tournament, LAFC, they just dropped their round 2 match against ES Tunis 1-0. They had a chance to tie this one 1-1. They got a penalty in the late stages of the match, basically an injury time, Nanda. I don't know if you saw this.
Saw that.
But
Unlucky.
Denny Bouanga misses this one, and LAFC basically gets eliminated with this result. And a match that I talked up a lot, River Monterrey, ultimately ends up being kind of a snooze fest, 0-0.
Yeah.
And I mean, obviously there was not a lot of passion, not a lot of goals. So, but Ananda, you must have been happy with that Real Madrid 3-1 scoreline over Pachuca. You know, only 10 men for 80 minutes of that match. So, how was it for you? You know, seeing Real Madrid, you know, take off in this tournament.
I thought that last performance was really good. Actually, I've seen a lot of takes online, stuff like that around. We'll talk about him in a little bit, but one prominent content creator out there has put Europe on fraud watch apparently, Rob. So it was just nice to see that at least a team that I support. Of course, the other one is not. They're on the beach or maybe in Dubai or in Spain training. I don't know where they are, but I mean, against 10 men, with 10 men, a stupid red card in the first 10 minutes by Raul Asensio. Not the center back for me, but anyways, that's another story for another day. Dean Huijsen looked really good, by the way, alongside him, new signing. But I thought they just showed their class, and I was pleased at the performance and not sort of, I would say succumbing to that narrative of Europe being on fraud watch. So,
well, Xavi Alonso, is he going to win the Champions League first season? Calling it now.
That's a big shout. That's a big shout. We'll see what more business they get done, but yeah, big shout there.
Well, good luck to him. That's all I got to say for your sake. XPH hitting us up with the first super chat of the night. Hey, Rob. Hey, Ananda. Gracias, XPH.
Gracias, Papa.
Your take on Borussia Dortmund subs watching first half in the locker room because of the heat. Anything to it? Nothing. Who cares? Ananda, did you see this? Did you
I
know
saw
what
that.
talking about?
Yeah. So that's kind of the things we talked about, right? Of like, the European clubs not being able to, I mean, we said it obviously in a sly way, but I did see this. Look, my thing is pretty simple. There is probably something to it. We don't know because we're speculating, but as always, it's always overblown on the socials, right? That's just how things are. Like on socials, everything is polarizing. So I think people just took it to the extreme and ran with their own narratives, but that's just my personal opinion. I'm sure there's something to it, but is it really that deep?
I don't think it's really that deep, but it's also
Yeah.
kind of like, that's kind of weak sauce, because I heard it was only 87, man. Like for PSG, Atleti, I think
it was scorching. Yeah.
I think it was at least in the 90s, right? So at least 3 or 4 degrees hotter.
Yeah.
And all these players were out on the bench, so it is kind of weak sauce, but then again, it ain't that deep. It is what it is. At the end of the day, football is something that we're privileged to watch, and if the players aren't good to play, then we don't get to watch it. So if they gotta sit in the locker room, man, like, cool, y'all do you. Get that air conditioning.
Zipper says 87 Germany's catastrophic heat wave. People in Cattle die. That's that. Yeah, honestly, man,
I don't want to lie. I don't want to laugh, but
I've been there, and boy, you're not lying for sure. Really quick, Pottermus, I have not watched either of those. So man, you're more caught up on me. So shout out to, again, I gotta hope that Indonesia qualifies for the World Cup, because man, that'll be super fun to cover. I mean, I've been reading up on a lot of the history and sort of the just how this team has evolved. It's super interesting, man. Just super interesting story.
Special episode of Lacuna incoming.
I might even do it with my brother Lex, LA Galaxy 310, because
Ooh, I love that for y'all, man. That's beautiful.
We'll see.
Get the homie Martin Paez on and talk a little bit deeper about Indonesia and the World Cup qualifying chances. But let's get back to the Club World Cup, because you're flashing here a very bummed out looking Diego Simeone, because Atletico de Madrid are out of the Club World Cup, eliminated despite beating Botafogo 1-0. Man, I mean, this is bad luck for Atleti, who were at least one of the dark horses for this tournament. They are eliminated now on goal difference. Another team that's eliminated, Seattle, after losing to PSG 2-0. They showed pretty decently in this tournament, Ananda. They were respectable, and that's pretty much all all anybody wanted from MLS teams to
Yeah.
begin with. And we'll talk about maybe one that overachieved in a sec. Porto and Al Ahly played to an 8-goal thriller. This one ends 4-4 with Abu Ali scoring a hat trick to almost propel Al Ahly to the second round. If they had won and made up
what
a
an
certain
effort.
amount of goal difference, they would have classified to the next round. But as it stands, that 4-4 draw helps neither Porto or Al Ahly. In the other match in that group, Inter Miami and Palmeiras played to a 2-2 draw. Goals from Tadeo Allende and Luis Suarez put Inter Miami ahead by 2 goals, but they threw away a 2-goal lead, and now they qualify as group runner-up as Palmeiras gets the draw 2-2, and they classify as Group A winner. They both make the round of 16, and Inter Miami's reward for making the round of 16
Wow.
is a date versus European champion PSG. Inter Miami versus PSG for the round of 16. Leo Messi's old team. He goes back and tries to get one over on him to try to advance his Inter Miami team to the quarterfinal round of the Club World Cup. This one's going to be spicy. Definitely people are going to be checking this game out for all the Messi revenge storylines. So this one's going down on Sunday in Atlanta. Go ahead and check this one out. I know I definitely will be. So now 8 teams are through, Ananda. Flamengo, Bayern, Man City, Juventus, PSG, Botafogo, Inter Miami, and Palmeiras. And in tomorrow's matches, you have Auckland versus Boca in Nashville at 12 p.m. You have Benfica versus Bayern, Charlotte at 12 p.m. ES Students versus Chelsea in Philly at 6 p.m. and LAFC versus Flamengo in Orlando at 6 p.m. Any particular one of these matches that you have your eye on, Ananda?
Well, I got to take a look at the group because I think it's an interesting one for, let me see, Group C. Yeah, I was gonna say, it's interesting because if Boca, I think Boca is playing. Boca basically has to like score. What is that? What's their goal difference right now? So if they win and let's say Munich loses, they've got to make up they got to win like 7-0 on that goal difference or something like that. So, but again, Auckland's been like the punching bag, right? So that'll be interesting. I'm also very interested in seeing Chelsea's response to the beatdown that they got from Flamengo. I mean, Esperanza, they played a decent team, or they played a decent match against LAFC. Of course, LAFC didn't have too much resistance, I thought. So yeah, I think the Chelsea one, just to see what their response is, because they've got to get a result.
Yeah, there's a couple of interesting storylines in this, and keep in mind this isn't the last match day either. There's still one more day of games, but I think for me the glamour tie here is Benfica versus Bayern Munich, but the one to watch really is that Boca versus Auckland match, because Boca needs, like you said, to make up the goal difference. So they're going to be going all out, and this one could turn into another 5-0, 7-0 against Auckland. Poor guys, man. XPH says hats off to Auckland. Those guys have day jobs, probably once in a lifetime experience for them. Yeah, man, it's like as if, you know how I always joke like, hey, they should sign me up, I'll do it for 5 boosters. Like, they actually did, and they were like, yo son, go play keeper against Bayern Munich.
Awesome.
Yeah, just thinking about it tickles me pink. But it would be, like XPH says, lifetime experience, and I'm sure a lot of those guys are living moments that they're going to be able to talk about, when they're old men, like, hey man, I played against the best in the world, and we earned that spot. Not like other teams, but anyway, I digress. I'm not going to get into that once again. Lacuna FC in the Club World Cup 2029. Ooh, that means I'm gonna have to stop eating the pupusas, Primo, and I don't want to stop eating the pupusas.
More like the EA, maybe the EAF Lacuna Matata and the EAFC Club World Cup.
Yeah,
There we go.
exactly. or I can coach and just just then the hashtags hashtag Rob out are gonna start, and but anyway, we'll think about it, Primo. I'll play left out, says Papa. Yeah. I'll like I said, I'll play bench as well. I'll play coach. But you know what, we had a couple comments in the chat about LAFC kind of crashing out of this tournament. I mean, they played a pretty respectable match against Chelsea. They underperformed against ES Tunis, who, let's face it, played a better match, and if not for that penalty shot at the end, really played like that complete match. Fortunately, ball doesn't lie, like people say, and ES Tunis ends up winning. But the man who took that penalty and missed it will be hoping to have a good final game against Flamengo when LAFC play Flamengo in Orlando tomorrow at 6, because there are rumors now that he could be on his way to Club America in a deal worth maybe 12 to 13 million, plus Javier de Rosen as a make weight to be used in negotiations. There are a couple other Mexican teams inquiring about the 30-year-old winger. But it made me wonder, Ananda, there was a lot of rumors about Gabriel Peck maybe leaving the Galaxy in the offseason. So if a player like Denny Bouanga leaves for 12 or 13 million after a couple successful seasons with the LAFC, but being 30 years old, what exactly do you think is maybe a going rate for Gabriel Pecky?
Well, based off of the form this season, man, I don't know what that does to his transfer value. But if you're looking at a baseline of what 12 plus Del Rosen as a make weight, maybe just like, what is he worth? Like a couple million. So you're gonna assume like 15 mil, something like that. I was just trying to actually look at Gabriel Peck's current market value on Transfermarkt, Rob. He's valued right now at 10 million. That would be euros. So that would be about
12, 13,
11 or 12 million, something like that. So, look, again, his form has not helped him this year, because I think his ceiling is easily, we talked about it last year, a record transfer out, right? Which is what in the 30 million, something like that. I'd have to do my research on that in terms of the actual number, but I could see him again in his pomp. Like if you talked about where he was last year, coming into this year and going up another level, that's easily a $25-30 million player, in my opinion, US dollars. And, I could see the likes, I could even see a South American team paying that. But for sure, you look at sort of your Nottingham Forest, right? Teams like that in the Premier League. You're looking at maybe some of those Spanish teams, again, probably like Premier League bound, because they're the ones that have the dough. They're the ones that have the cash, right? Really nowhere else to command that sort of feast. So it'll be interesting, man. It'll be interesting for sure.
Well, anything else to comment on the Club World Cup here, Ananda?
Well, I thought it was interesting. Like I said, there's been just a lot of really interesting takes just around. I thought this one was interesting for us to take stock in, Rob, really quick. And this is from our friend Will at MLS Moves. He says, speaking of stock, every region has seen their stock increase during this Club World Cup tournament, except for Oceania. And he lists off North American teams, South American teams, Asia, Africa, stock up, and Oceania and Europe. Again, he's a big proponent for Europe must be on fraud watch at the moment, even though I don't think the results and the teams that are advancing through to the next round, I don't think that backs it up totally yet. But it made me think, Rob, sort of what from this tournament, who do you think has, or what's your sort of biggest stock up? It could be a federation, a league, a club, or a player. Who do you think stock has risen the most through these first through the group stages as we've seen it thus far?
I think the tournament itself has seen its stock go up. Like a lot of people were kind of poo-pooing this tournament, saying like, why do we need this tournament? Why is it so many teams? Why isn't the tournament like it was before? And it's kind of shut a lot of people up because people seem to be having fun at this tournament. It seems to be a success. The matches have been impactful, and like I mentioned, the fan bases have been great. So the fan bases stock up as well. But yeah, the South American teams have done wonderfully. I mean, we see Boca maybe at risk of not going on, but even them, like they've acquitted themselves well. It just begs for a. I would love to see an expanded Copa Libertadores where, or a continental, I guess like a version of the Champions League, but with like the best clubs in North and South America.
Right.
That would be great. And this is just like a good shout for that. The competition is there. I mean, it would be great to see the Galaxy play against, team, not this year's version of the Galaxy, mind, but can you imagine last year's version of the Galaxy when they were like, playing their best soccer against like a Flamengo or a Botafogo or against a Boca Juniors. I'm not saying they would win, but it like you said, it'd definitely be fun. But yeah, I think the South American clubs. You?
Yeah, I agree with you. And there's this graphic out there that I pulled up, in particular the Brazilian clubs. A couple people in chat are talking about it. I mean, this is before today, of course. They, the sort of the one loss that they got, their first loss, the Brazilian teams that lost was today against Atletico Madrid. But again, they still advanced to the next round. But man, Brazilian teams have been really, really good. And it's funny because Will talked about in his tweet sort of the stock downs. I think the Brazilian sort of stock rising has come, Rob, at the expense for me, in particular, the Portuguese league. I look at teams like Porto and Benfica. So Porto got eliminated today, right? And I've always thought that in general, like Europe, and again, this is just me reading and scanning what's out there, not really watching both leagues. So I'm probably speaking out of turn, but I've always thought that the Portuguese league was probably a higher quality league in general. But the Brazilian leagues, man, those Brazilian teams are really showing us what they're made of. You look at even the game today, Rob, Palmeiras against Inter Miami, right? I felt like that they, well, not only that, but the depth, which is something MLS teams don't have, unfortunately, but those are the things, the depth and sort of the talent. And Brazil always produces good talent, man. So I'm not surprised that those teams are doing well. And it's not only that, but it's the mentality. They get stronger and stronger and they fight tooth and nail. And that's a quality of all South American teams, right, Rob? I mean, we've seen this as a trend. You look at the past few Copa Americas, you look at even if you watch a tournament like Copa Libertadores, I mean, you'll see the style of play is, I mean, those guys are at war, right? They're fighting tooth and nail for every tackle, every loose ball, every 50-50. So I guess I'm not surprised, but I guess I'm surprised to see them do so well, especially against the European teams. And to me, it's at the expense of the Portuguese league, because I don't think they've really shown out. I mean, you look at Benfica, arguably their best player is Angel Di Maria. So that just says it all, right? Anyways, maybe I shouldn't bring those old bones up for you Man United fans, but
that's snake.
But the other big stock rising for me, Rob, we talked about it earlier, the South American fan base, bro. The South American fan base, like, shout out to you guys. I mean, I feel like as fans, a lot of us that are listening and even us two, man, like, a big reason why we love the sport is that feeling that you get in a big game in a stadium when you're in that crowd, when you hear the chants, when you're in the middle of those, right? And bro, like they've really, really brought that spirit, that atmosphere. You said it. There's so many videos circulating out in social media about Boca fans, River fans, Palmeiras fans, just like, just filling out the joint and absolutely showing their pride. And I wish that MLS would be at that level or could be at that level in the future, but because to me, that's what makes it exciting. I mean, I remember I literally, the hairs on my arm were standing up when I was in the Bernabeu and they were, chanting the hymn, right? And this was during the Champions League game against Arsenal earlier in the year. There's no other feeling like it, Papa. That ambiance, that atmosphere, there's nothing like it. So shout out to all the South American fans. And that's a huge stock rising because I think they showed the rest of the world that, like, hey, like this is how it's done, guys. This is how supporting your team, having pride in the crest. This is how it's done. So shout out to them for sure.
Yeah, for damn sure.
Yeah,
We definitely
exactly.
shout
Urawa
out.
too. Yep.
Yeah, we
Yep.
definitely shouted out Urawa because they did their thing. I mean, you could see the passion in the Japanese fans as well. I mean, I saw a video of a Urawa fan in the stands crying, and they had interviewed him earlier about how his own journey to get to the match. I mean, incredible stuff. I mean, this is again what football's all about, right?
Yeah.
And we talked about how even though the Galaxy haven't played, there's been a bunch of good soccer. Well, as if the Club World Cup wasn't enough, there is the Gold Cup going on as well. The U.S. men's national team, they get the 2-1 win over Haiti. One of Ananda's favorites, Big Pat Agmayang, he gets the game winner in the 75th minute. And then Mexico, they draw 0-0 with Costa Rica. Now, the top half of the quarterfinal draw is set. Mexico will play Saudi Arabia in Glendale, Arizona on Saturday, 6/28, and the U.S. will play Costa Rica in Minneapolis on Sunday, 6/29. And the rest remains to be seen.
Yeah, for sure. Rob, I wanted to, because I've seen like just, I don't know, man, there's a lot of like hate and stuff going around for the U.S. men's national team. But hypothetical question for you real quick. So as in the current state of the U.S. men's national team, I mean, because obviously you're an Ecuador guy, you support your club or your team. So if Ecuador were to draw the U.S. in the same group, right? Let's say next summer in the World Cup, let's just say they're in let's say it's a group of 4 teams, right? Let's just say they're with a top European team and then with like a lowly ranked team. So basically both of those teams, it's the Ecuador and the US competing for that second spot to go through. Am I mistaken that third spot goes through now, or am I mixing it up with another competition? Anyways,
yeah, a couple of third place spots.
Let's just assume you got to get the second spot, right? And I'm doing this just to see, like, compare where the US team is in sort of, the rankings of the world, right? In terms of the other powerhouse teams. Excuse me. Would you expect Ecuador to get out the group? I mean, would you be scared of the US?
No, not at all. You got to remember that the Ecuador just qualified for the World Cup. They're second in World Cup qualifying in a very, very tough region to do so, CONMEBOL. And they're only, I believe it's 6 points back from an Argentina team, and that's with 3 points already being deducted from them. They're definitely they do have their one glaring fault is that they don't have a recognized striker beyond Ener Valencia, who's 36 or 37, but they bested Argentina for goals conceded per match at 0.3 versus 0.6, right? So they're one of the elite defensive teams in South America, if not the world. I mean, you have William Pacha playing for PSG right now. You have Piero Hincapié playing for Bayern Leverkusen. I mean, there's been links linking him to Real Madrid and Liverpool, some of the top clubs in the world. Only 6 goals conceded in 16 games in World Cup qualifying, and that's against your Brazils, your Uruguays, your Argentinas of the world. 11 clean sheets as well in World Cup qualifying, the most in South America. Again, the big fault for them is that they don't have a recognized trusty striker. If they had a good striker, man, it'd be over. I would make Ecuador a dark horse for this World Cup, but since they don't, unfortunately, I mean, they'll go as far as their defense will take them. But yeah, I definitely would fancy Ecuador to beat the United States. And I mean, even if they played in a one-off in the round of 16 or something like that, I think Ecuador gets through on defense.
I think that's a great litmus test or barometer to compare where the US is right now in terms of the national team, which is they're not a CONMEBOL powerhouse like in Argentina or Brazil or even Uruguay, right? Ecuador is probably what I would say middle of the road, mid-table quote unquote right team in
Right,
CONMEBOL.
but this is the golden generation for Ecuador.
Fair, but then if the U.S. men's national team can't beat teams like Ecuador, can't beat teams like Turkey in a friendly, can't beat teams like Switzerland, they get pounced, right? I think that comparison just says it all right there, where the U.S. men's national team is. Yes, they've had some good results in the Gold Cup, but the level of competition goes up 2-3 notches, and it'll be interesting to see how they perform through the rest of not only this tournament, but when they get into a face stiffer competition like your Ecuador team, possibly in the World Cup.
Look, I'll tell you like this. Ecuador fans are kind of like Arsenal fans. If there's a way to lose, you know, it's probably going to happen for Ecuador. However, this World Cup qualifying has been different. I mean, they in both matches against Argentina, maybe the first match they were a little bit more outmatched than in the second match, but they still had chances to win that first match. But in the second match, they definitely went toe to toe. I mean, I went into that match, Ananda, thinking, man, Argentina's just going to play them just like they did in the first match and be stronger. And I got done watching that match feeling disappointed that that Ecuador didn't win that match. I believe it ended tied. I can't be sure, but yes, I was kind of disappointed that they weren't able to pick up the win there. But good luck to the U.S. in the Gold Cup. But if it comes down to it, I think Ecuador has taken them down, Ananda. But a team that wasn't taken out or taken down is the LA Galaxy U19s. Congratulations to those boys, that academy program, for winning MLS Next Pro Cup. That's a three-peat, baby. That's 1, 2, 3, count them, after defeating Cedar Stars Academy 3-1 in the final of the U19 US the U19 MLS Next Cup that took place in Murfreesboro, Tennessee on Sunday morning. Our colleague Alex Ruiz asked Greg Vanney about this team and their title. And he just had glowing things to say about this team. I mean, he said that he took some time off and made himself available to that staff to be a resource for the academy while, you know, he had some time away from the team. And of course, there is that familial connection, because Dylan Vanney plays here with this team and was indeed one of the catalysts for this team. Greg had this to say: when you watch our youth teams play, we play differently than every other team that's out there. And this is what we're talking about. You want to go ahead and get the foundations for the team, all the way from the academy all the way up to the first team. There's got to be a cohesive vision, and it looks like it's bearing fruit. Again, Dylan Vanney was one of the catalysts on this team. Had a brace, I believe, in the semifinal. He has a goal in the final as well. And it was funny trying or getting to watch Greg comment about Dylan, Ananda, and kind of like, you know, have to approach it as like, you know, a coach rather than a dad, rather than his dad. You know, he's like, well, you know, the player's growing into himself and he's getting stronger, you know, this and that. But it was just funny because you know, I've seen Greg now for a couple years, and I was like, I know in his head he's like, yes, this kid did it, you know. So anyway, congratulations to those lads. That's a three-peat, and hopefully they get number 4 next year.
Yeah, and just I was gonna say, last thing on that too is again, shout out. We got to give credit to Greg Vanney for all the, you know, the Vanney Boo Birds out there. We've got to give credit to Vanney because he was the one that put in all this work as soon as he stepped into this organization, right? So again, that continuity from the academy level and all the different age groups, because remember, it's not just VCFC, there's all these different age groups, right? And that continuity all the way through. I'm hoping that, Rob, this will allow us to uncover more gems like your Julian Araujo's, like your Jalen Neal's. I'm hoping that pipeline now will serve the first team and we'll reap the benefits of that versus having to pay money and go outside in the market, right? Which is not the easiest thing to do, especially given the MLS cap or given the MLS sort of just spending constraints in general.
Really quickly, Ananda, I want to call your attention to a very important comment in chat by Anthony Martinez saying comparing Arsenal to Ecuador is an insult to Ecuador.
No
um,
comment.
I'm with that. Thank you, sir. I'm definitely okay with that. But we have some transfer rumors, man. News breaking out of
Speaking of transfers,
Argentina. Yeah, speaking of transfers, news breaking out of Argentina is that per Noel Ferreira en la emisora AM 1130 en Argentina, LA Galaxy left back Julian Aude is being sounded out by Argentinos Juniors. That Argentine club is looking to replace Roman Vega, and if they do so, they might be looking at Julian Aude to be the substitute there for Roman Vega. Julian Aude has failed to take back his starting spot this year, even though both of us kind of called that he would do so. John Nelson still preferred to Julian Aude in that starting spot. Aude has 20 total appearances for the Galaxy in 2025, only 7 starts. However, what do you think, Ananda? Chat, let me know. Do you think Julian Aude will be an LA Galaxy player to start the 2026 season? Chat, go ahead and drop your comments. Let us know what you think. Will Julian Aude be an LA Galaxy player in 2026? What do you think, Ananda?
Oh, that's a great question. Because I can make a case for either way, but I don't know, man. My gut tells me no. And I think I'm gonna approach this answer like from a stylistic point of view, because, well, let's put it this way. Let's look at the history of Julian Aude, right? So we signed him 3 years ago. This is his 3rd season now with the team. Remember, Rob, the first year he was sharing time at that left back position with Raheem Edwards, right? Who we had at that time. And then last year, he kind of built himself up to be the starter to start last year, which he did in the first half of the season. But unfortunately, he got an injury midway through the season. And through that, he lost his starting spot to John Nelson and never regained it back. Now, credit to John Nelson, because he took that starting spot and ran with it all the way to help the Galaxy win MLS Cup, right? And then you go to this season now and you think, okay, what's Greg going to do? Is he going to start John Nelson back there or go with Julian Aude, which is, by the way, a guy that you spent money on to get the transfer in. And on top of that, he's a valuable U22 spot, right, Rob? And those are very, very valuable positions in an MLS roster. But if I look at this now stylistically, you said just a second ago, only 20 appearances, but only 7 starts, more importantly. And I think the biggest reason for that, honestly, is just stylistically, like Greg likes to play. He likes to play sort of especially in a build out in a 3-back set with John Nelson sort of being a left center back in a way, and having Mickey or whoever that right-sided player is sort of drift up and down that pitch, either tucking inside into the midfield or going up and down the wing. And I'm thinking now Greg feels like John Nelson just adds a little bit more of that stability, right? And sort of that back 3. And he's got his partnership down really well with Maya Yoshida, for example, on that left side. So I think it's a more of a stylistic thing. And it's kind of a shame, because I think Julian Aude has a higher ceiling than John Nelson, in my opinion, Rob. So I only approach it from that way. Now, if we switch systems to where we can allow Julian Aude to be in a position to succeed, which is him being more of an attacking player, it's him on that left-hand side creating those triangles instead of Miki Yamane right on the right-hand side, which we love to attack down that right-hand side. I think maybe there's a space for him, but it's just hard to see, man. And it's going to be really interesting. I think the key will be, what do his selections look like over the next 2 months, especially approaching this transfer window? Because you can't, it's the same conversation we had with Novak Mitrovic. You can't have a guy who you've invested that much money in to just sit on the bench, right? And then, of course, other teams are going to take notice. So that's my thing. But if I could argue either way, but if I had to guess, I would say no.
Yeah, and something that's really important to watch. Joe 13 Cool says Aude ages out of U22 next season. I think they move him. We've seen
that's a great point.
We've seen the importance of how that affects the roster and the financials just this year. Gabriel Pecki and Dejan Jovic aged out of that U22 initiative, or graduated out of that U22 initiative, how Greg likes to say, and one of them is no longer a Galaxy player. So it's unfortunate. I really like him. Like you said, I think he does have a higher ceiling than John Nelson, but I don't know if the money is there, but especially if they get a good offer from him from Argentina. So we'll be
you thinking no as well, Baba?
just the right now the money, the financials don't add up, and I think they'll get a somewhat decent offer if Roman Vega leaves Argentinos Jr. So yeah, I don't see him being a Galaxy player in 2026, but I could be wrong, and I would like to be wrong. I like him a lot, and like you said, he has a high ceiling. So maybe Greg starts to get the best out of him. He gave me some interesting comments today that could mean that we might be seeing something different out of some players. But anyway, watch this space. We'll let you know if anything pops on the Julian Audi front. I had a chance, Ananda, to talk to Greg Vanney today. As I mentioned, today was media availability. It's usually 2 days before match day, MD -2. And the other day, while I was away, as Ananda knows, I was helping a friend celebrate his upcoming nuptials. And as I was sitting there on my way to meet up with the group, I started thinking about this potential timeline and an article I wrote at the beginning of the season, kind of calling out the key potential Galaxy matches to watch this season. And I realized that one of these matches was in August. And so it made me ask Greg Vanney today about Ricky Puig's potential timeline. I asked him, Greg, with August being a month and a couple of days away, that puts Ricky Puig's injury about 9 months ago. What's the potential timeline for his return? And he let me know that it was kind of touch and go still. He had returned to the field. So Ricky Puig has returned to the field. He is here in Los Angeles, and he has been in Los Angeles for a short time. Greg let us know. Still no timeline, no clear timeline on his return, because they're not rushing anything with Ricky's return. They don't feel like there's any need to. I mean, maybe if there was a playoff battle on hand, it would be a little bit more pressing. But right now, as things stand, there is no clear timeline. They're going to let his progress kind of dictate that timeline. He is on the field already, like I mentioned. The next step is that he graduates to working with the ball on the field, and then that wraps up into actually working with the team. So it does. I mean, it's maybe looking like August, maybe looking like September, Ananda. I mean, it's good that he's already back on the field. I mean, it doesn't put him behind timeline. It puts him, I would think, like right on the right timeline. So that's what I'm shooting for. I think that we see Ricky by latest September. I mean, hopefully the Galaxy still have a season to worry about in September, but
yeah, because that would be after
Leagues look forward Cup. To.
That would be after Leagues Cup. When I'm actually going to pull this up right now, that would be after Leagues Cup probably, unless we make a deep run. So because Leagues Cup starts at the end of July. So yep.
Can you imagine a Ricky Puig return for Leagues Cup final? That would be the bee's knees, right? Anyway, before that, the Galaxy still has a lot of season to get through, starting with this midweek match against Colorado. Yes, we have arrived to the preview portion of the pod, folks. So buckle up. I'm about to tell you where the Galaxy are in the standings. Unfortunately, they hold a not a great record still, guys. 1-12-5 after 18 matches, 18 goals for, 39 against, still on 8 points, 0.44 points per game, and negative 21 goal differential, still 15th in last place in the West. They are definitely a ways back from the last playoff spot, the 9th spot, 14 points back from Colorado. However, there are signs of improvement. They've scored 8 goals in the last 5 matches. Their opponent is one of these teams that directly helps the Galaxy out a lot if they can beat them. This Colorado team is in 9th place after 18 matches. They hold a 6-8-4 record. That 9th place spot is the last playoff spot that I mentioned earlier. They are on 22 points, 1.22 points per game, a -7 goal differential. And right now, Colorado isn't playing good soccer, man. I mean, I mentioned at the top of the show, this could be the moment that the Galaxy are favored with a little bit of luck and could take advantage of a team. The Rapids have lost their last 3 matches. The last one was a 1-0 loss at home versus Orlando City. They've only scored once in their last 3. They haven't scored in their last 2. Only 2 wins in the last 10. 3 goals scored in the last 7. I mean, I would call trap game.
I was gonna say I got 2 words for you, Baba. I got 2 words.
I would call trap game, except that everything lines up too well, and that there was like time off. The Galaxy's refreshed. I feel like I feel like this is everything is set up for them to win this match. I mean, this is the first of 2 matches in 4 days. Of course, they'll play the Cali Clasico on the weekend, and this is the 98th all-time meeting between these teams. The Galaxy have the advantage in the series 48-34-13, and in league play it's a 40-32-13 advantage. Last year the teams faced off 4 times and the Galaxy won all 4 matches, 15 goals for, 4 against. And in the last meeting between the teams, the Galaxy smoked the Rapids 4-1 at Dick's Sporting Goods Park in game 2 of the first round of the playoffs. I mean, it was a shellacking. But during the regular season, the Galaxy had the Rapids number as well. They defeated the Rapids 3-1 on the road at Dick's on October 2nd to earn the club's first win in Colorado since 2017. Now the Galaxy kind of have reversed that trend. They haven't lost to the Rapids in the last 5 meetings, 4 wins, 1 draw. Guys, we already gave you the update here on Ricky. Besides that, Diego Fagundes was basically to be involved. I believe Miguel Berry is involved as well. Ananda, we didn't get specificity on him, but we asked Greg if he had everyone available, and he said yes. So I don't imagine that for whatever reason Miguel Berry is excluded from that. So I would expect him to be available for Greg Vanny as well. On the Colorado side, only Zach Steffen is really the big miss there. I mean, Alex Harris and Ali Fadon, no disrespect to them, but they haven't played much for the Colorado first team. So Zach Steffen, of course, ex-Manchester City keeper, 11 matches this year with 3 clean sheets. He's going to be out for Colorado, and he had been getting into some good form. He had gotten called back to the national team, and so this is a big miss for Colorado.
One important one too, Rob. This is per our friend Matt Pollard from Holding the Highline from that covers the Colorado Rapids. He said that Cole Bassett is going to be a touch and go. Very important cog in their midfield. He just came back, I think, the last game, but apparently post-match he said something, he felt a little twinge. So he is going to be touch and go. Not sure if he's going to be available this next game, which would be a big miss for them. They just got Sam Vines back on left back position, and Cole Bassett was another one, another miss or another injury doubt as well. So yeah, that's a big miss for them if he doesn't play.
Well, big miss for them, but just yet another reason that the Galaxy have favorable terms in this match. That will be massive for the Galaxy. Just one more way for them to control this midfield. What are you seeing from a Galaxy lineup in this match?
Yeah, well, it's going to be interesting. One thing we didn't talk about yet or mention in terms of the team news, but we are going to have Edwin Cerrillo back, right, Rob, from his serving his yellow card accumulation, suspension. So I expect him to slot back instead of Isaiah Parente. Again, these are the lineups for both teams for their last MLS regular season game. So for us, that would be the away trip to St. Louis, where we had Parente start. So I would expect Edwin Cerillo to create that double pivot again in the midfield. I expect Greg Vanney, by the way, in the altitude and sort of what time was the kickoff again? Was it 7:30 local time? Was it in the evening? 6:30. So again, I know Josh likes to use the term body clock around, but I think in terms of
it's 6:30 here. I think it's 7:30 there.
Yeah. So again, it's an evening game. Should be okay in terms of that. But I think the altitude is going to put Greg in a position where he's probably going to play, in my opinion, I'm predicting him to play sort of a double pivot instead of a true 4-3-3. And yeah, man, I expect that front three to start. That's our best attacking three with Nacimiento as the number 9. Again, guys, if you want to check out sort of some tactical things and some video things that Alex and I did on that last GATACTICOS, he's such an important part, I think, to knit the play together and a team that I think that can be got at on the break, Rob. They can be got at on the break. I think Nacimiento as the sort of that back to goal, being that connector, playing that quick pass over the top or through the lines, that's going to be really important. I think we're going to need his playmaking along with some of our midfielders. And then, you know, Marco Ruiz, we talked about it the last pod. He's been probably our best player the last month or so. I expect him to be in that number 10 position again with the news that Diego, he's available, but I don't expect him to start right away. He's probably going to come off the bench. So that's what I'm looking at there for the Galaxy. Mitrovic gets another start too. So I don't think any crazy surprises. I don't think.
Joe 13 Cool says correction on out U22 players don't age out until 25. My bad. We have 2 years left for that. Important note. Yeah, I don't think you're wrong. I think the lineup kind of picks itself. I mean, I think Greg has kind of figured out who his best lineup is. The only possible thing I can see being different is maybe Garces gets the nod back in starting lineup over Zanka. But other than that, yeah, I agree with your assessment.
Yeah, that's interesting too, because like for me, our best like high ceiling back four is Julian Aude, Yoshida, Garces, and Yamane, right? So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. I don't expect Greg to make that selection, but if he does, Rob, I think that's going to signal to you and I, and
that's
all
a
the
shot
rest
for you, sir,
and all the rest of us, to see what Greg is thinking now in terms of both of those players. Maybe he's seeing something in training to put those guys back into the lineup. It'll be interesting.
Well, it could be. I mentioned this already. It could be also something that he's doing. I mean, I asked them on the press conference because he and John Nelson had spoken about how there was a clean slate. It's kind of like the start of a new season now. And so I asked him, yes, the team is trying to wipe its slate clean and coming at, this period with, clean slate. But what do you wish the team had done better in the first half of the season? What could they have improved upon? And he kind of took it on himself. He kind of demurred and put it on himself. And he said that, he needed to reassess how he was coaching this team. He couldn't coach this team how he coached last year's team or even 2023's team because these players were different. And so he needed to go back to the drawing board and figure out how to coach this team effectively. And he and the coaching staff have basically figured out that this team is a lot more situationally coaching oriented, and he has put the team not really through so many live game actions, but they use practice to go ahead and break things down now and teach a little bit more because you have younger players, you have players that have just gotten here, so they've really had to reassess how they're running these training sessions, and perhaps maybe that's why you're starting to see players start to understand the system a little bit more, and as a result you're starting to see maybe better Galaxy performances. But really the proof is in the pudding, and we'll really see if that approach is paying off with this game here. The danger men for Colorado are going to be the same as ever. They're going to be looking at, Rafael Navarro, Jordi Mihailovic, who has 7 goals and 2 assists, Darren Yappy with 3 goals, Cole Bassett with 3 goal involvements. Ananda, do you have anything on the stats side that might inform us who will get this victory?
Yeah, I think the one thing that we'll that we should probably look out for, guys, is this is going to be one of those games again against a Chris Armas team. I think we saw it a lot in the playoffs last year, Rob, with how they like to play, right? They like to unsettle. They like to get in your faces early and press high up the pitch. You look at the bottom right there, possession 1, final third per match, 4.9 Colorado Rapids. So 5th in the league, right? And so I think we've got to expect that, especially they're at home. So they're going to try to use the altitude or the lack of familiarity with it, with the opposition. They're going to try to use that to their advantage. So I think in the beginning stages of the game, it's going to be really important for the Galaxy to stay calm, just stay collected, don't make any, silly mistakes, and just keep the game under control. And I think the other thing too, Rob, is this is again another team that seems to be comfortable without possession, or they're not. That's not their game, right? You see that average possession there, 45%, almost to the bottom of the league, whereas the Galaxy are the opposite. So perhaps a tactic that Greg can use is, since they're not too comfortable in possession, again, they're not a high-scoring team, only 1 goal per match, 24th in the league if you look at the top left there. So maybe Greg will say, look, maybe we'll play a little bit on the counter. We'll do 2 banks of 4 and have those 2 DMs in there. And again, we've got lethal speed on the wings, right? Joseph Painsil, Gabriel Peck. And this is exactly how we played him in the playoffs last year, Rob. We hit him on transition, right? That's where we hit him the most. And we had those guys in the midfield. We had Ricky Puig. We had Mark Delgado that could thread those passes. And we hit our wingers in the most dangerous positions, that's in and behind, in those transition moments. I'm wondering if Greg will approach this game more in that sense and concede a little bit of possession to Colorado. Again, we might have to because of the altitude as well, right? We don't want to tire out our guys in sort of the first 45, 60 minutes, and then you're not going to have enough in the tank in those last 30. So it'll be interesting, man. Again, this is a team that likes to unsettle us. So we've got to start in a stable position. We've got to start controlled and just sort of manage the game well, especially in that altitude.
Chat, y'all know what it is. We're getting to the end here, and we need your predictions. So start dropping them there in chat. Let us know who you think is going to win this match, if the Galaxy is going to get their 2nd win of the season, or if Colorado gets the win at home. Let us know what you think. Let us know your score prediction. Today, Ananda's going to go first because I went first last time. But before we get to that, Ananda, for the Galaxy to win this match, they have to.
Oh man. Yeah, I think for me, I just talked about it a second ago. Tactically speaking, I think they need to execute in transition. I think that's where we're going to hurt Colorado the most. I don't think, again, we could probably hurt them in possession, but this team will allow space. They press up so high, Rob, that those balls over the top. We saw it in Philadelphia too. Remember how we scored those 2 goals in transition in the first half was winning the ball back in the middle in a good part of the pitch and breaking on them very quickly. And we'll have those opportunities again. This is how Chris Armas plays, right? He likes to unsettle teams and push high up the pitch. So, and we have those weapons. We have JP, we have Nacimiento, who's a guy that can link and play. But the key thing is to execute. We've got to execute in the final third. We've got to make those opportunities count. Because hitting him in the break is great, but we need that goal at the end of it, right, to make it count. So for me, it's executing transition.
Yeah, mine's kind of a play on that. I was going to say score first, and that includes just be defensively sound. I mean, because you got to be defensively sound to not concede and then score first. So there's kind of like an umbrella thing right there.
I keep telling you, bro, defensively sound with this team, not going to happen.
I will keep on wishing and I will keep on hoping, and you're never going to get me off of that cloud because the good things started to happen to this Galaxy team last year when they started to put in better defensive performances. I mean, it's what took them to MLS Cup. Yes, everybody touts the record-breaking offense, but that record-breaking offense definitely couldn't have gotten there without this defense that shored up in the last half of the season. Ananda, I'm sure that you and Dr. Raquinho have worked really hard on betting odds. Dr. Raquinho said that you guys were up till like 3 a.m. working on these, so let it rip.
Yep. So betting odds are there on the screen. So home team Colorado plus 115, 40%, 47%. And LA Galaxy at a plus 210 at 32%. I mean, that's not bad for a road team, Rob. I looked at sort of today, and these are the most updated odds. So those odds have shifted slightly. Plus 110 for Colorado Rapids and plus 200 for the Galaxy. And a draw is at a plus 255. So, decent payout there. But I mean, as 32% as the road team, those are pretty good odds in my opinion. It's interesting because maybe they're taking into account the form of Colorado. You talked about them only scoring 1 goal right in their last 3. They haven't done well even in their last 5. If you go all the way back there, their 2 victories, Rob, were 1-0 at home. So again, this is not a team that scores a lot. So
and the performance and even the wins haven't been convincing.
They haven't been convincing, and that's surprising for a team that has, the likes of Georgi Mihailovic, Navajo, which, we've seen that he can be a nuisance up there. But so this is on paper, Rob. This is a game for the taking. Now, the question is, does that dreaded 2-letter word come in, and is this a trap game? And I guess it's for us to decide.
Yeah, well, we are starting to get some predictions in from our good chat folk. XPH, Colorado 2, Galaxy 0, Painful with those misses, and Peck trying hero ball, Zanka Maya giveaway again. Oh, Oof. No, I hope not. Joe 13 says 3-1 Galaxy, 3-1 LA wins. Peck scores again, and Painful finally gets his. Also, Cabral gets revenge goal. Yeah, of course he does. Every single time he does. Or he sets one up.
It'll be interesting to see if he gets in the game because he hasn't been playing many minutes this season.
No, not at
all. But against the Galaxy, Chris Arnes might say, you know what, the voodoo is on the LA Galaxy in 2025. So
exactly,
the hex is there. But I will Scout's honor and go first because that's just how it be. But remember this chat
because I went first last time.
I mean, you really didn't. But remember this chat. Remember when Rob tries to pull this stunt on me again for next pod? He will go first on the prediction. But anyways, I will actually be positive, Rob. I'm gonna go with my heart pick today. I'm gonna go 2-1. We are gonna give up a goal. Like I said, I don't trust this defense. Not until Emilio Garces is back there and up to his best, which might be a while from now. Honestly, like we haven't seen very many consistent minutes from him recently. So until he's back at his best, I'm not trusting this defense. So we're going to give up a goal. But look, I have a feeling that Greg, because of the altitude, I think he's going to manage this game. And I think we're going to try to get stronger as the game goes on. I think we're not going to be like, 70-75% possession in the beginning of the game. I'm not sure that we have. Yes, we are well rested, but I'm not sure he's going to come into that game like that. So I feel like the first 20-25 is going to be game management and then try to hit him on the break. Like I said, if we execute on the break, there's 2 or 3 goals on the cards. I mean, we've shown an ability to score the last couple of games, right? We've scored 5 in the last 2. So I think that it's there. But like I said, the wild card here or the X factor is, do we execute in the transition moments? We talked about JP's wastefulness, unfortunately, the last game. We can't have a repeat of that if we want to win this game. But my heart tells me 2-1, keep our unbeaten streak, get our first road victory of the year, and move on. So
I'm calling the win as well.
Oh, what? Wait. What happened to Mr. Scrooge, Rob? That I knew, over the last couple of weeks.
No. Like I said, there's just too many things pointing to a win. I mean, I was already like, the terms are favorable for the Galaxy, without hearing the Cole Bassett news. But if Bassett doesn't play, I mean, that's just like another huge boon for the Galaxy. So, I mean, just Colorado hasn't been playing well, and even though the Galaxy has a terrible record, they've been playing some decent soccer recently. So yeah, I think that this game is there for the taking. I think they do win this one. I was actually going to say 2-1. I would like a 2-0. The defense needs a shutout. They need to like start building that belief, start getting some good results and stuff to like, you know, bang their chest about. But unfortunately, I think you're right. I think they do give up a goal and it ends up being 2-1. But I think you're right. They do get that first road win, and I think if they win this one, they also go up to San Jose and they also take that one.
Wow, that's a big call because you know, San Jose is doing pretty well this season. Of course, we want to get revenge on the home loss there. That was not a good day.
Well, I'm pointing to that actually because that day the Galaxy should have beaten San Jose. They had plenty of opportunities to do so. So, like I said, I mean, they if they beat Colorado, I think they go to San Jose and they get that win too.
Yeah, and that would be huge. Again, these are 6-pointers, right? That Colorado, you know, like we put on the title of this video, this is a 6-pointer because we get 3 and we knock off 3 points of a team that right now is currently in the 9th spot. So these are huge games. San Jose is in what, 8th position?
Absolutely.
So these are huge games, especially away from home. And it'll be nice to come to that 3-game homestand on an unbeaten streak with some momentum. And again, look, I think all of us are considering that this season is done. Playoffs are out of the way, but you never know. And all you got to do is just play the game that's in front of you. At least that's what the player's mentality should be. And this is one game at a time. And look, crazier things have happened, but the important thing is this team needs to get back on the right foot. And again, keep that unbeaten streak going because you need little steps now to build off of, especially because I mean, going back to your 3-game homestand on an unbeaten run is totally different than, you know, coming back maybe potentially with, you know, 2 losses or points dropped that you shouldn't have dropped because we should have gotten all 3 points in St. Louis. And I'm hoping that sting is still with these players and they come back and get all 3 points this time.
Yeah, they should have gotten those 3 points in St. Louis. They should have gotten a point in San Diego. I mean, you're right. Like, hopefully these things continue to stick to these players, and hopefully they get the result. But I think that pretty much does it for us, Anand. I mean, you're right in that this match is massive. It's a 6-pointer. Colorado's in 9th. The Galaxy then would go to San Jose and play the 8th place team. And so when you look at the importance of these matches, I think you're seeing in the immediate 2 matches that the Galaxy got to win to you know, start climbing up the table. And yes, I don't think the Galaxy are going to make the playoffs this year, but they at least start making things respectable. So anyway, that's what it is, Ananda. Anything else to add before we get out of here?
Always try to leave last word to chat. And Joe13Cool says, from winless to undefeated, if Rob believes, I believe. So there you go.
From winless to undefeated, if Rob believes, I believe. Geez, it's a lot of pressure. But yeah, we will start believing. I will believe for you, Joe13Cool. Anyway, so that's what it is for us tonight, guys. On Thursday, June 26th, we'll have our LA versus Colorado match reaction, and we'll also bring you a Galaxy versus Earthquakes preview for the 104th edition of the Galactico. The Galaxy, of course, looking for revenge after dropping the first Galactico this year 1-0 at home on May 28th. As we mentioned, the Galaxy had chances to win that match and left a couple of goals on the table. And then a week from today, on Monday, June 30th, we'll bring you our Galactico match reaction. So keep it locked here, guys. Go ahead and sub if you haven't done so. Go ahead and let all your loved ones know about this humble little podcast. Get them to sub as well. We will love you forever. And until we meet again, thank you so much. We love you all for being here with us. If you have any comments, questions, go ahead and drop in chat. If you're here, it's because you found us at youtube.com/@LacunaGalaxiana, and we love you for doing so. Without further ado, only one thing left to say is G's up.
Necesitamos a ganar.